People selling cars on Bring a Trailer are insane, and so are the buyers. Do you want to deal with that when you're trying to sell your car, but you still want to sell your car and Bring a Trailer? Well, guess what? There's people that can help you with that. You can still sell your car and Bring a Trailer without having to deal with the insanity. We have a huge guest tonight. Your mind is going to be blown. You know what? We're just going to start the show. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. All right, welcome to a brand new live episode of Bid Nerds. We are doing it here live from the downtown container park in downtown Las Vegas. We got the Mint 400 going on out there, so it's really loud and noisy and crazy. If you hear trucks going off or something like that, that's because the Mint 400 is starting. My name is John Polnik. I also have my partner with me in San Francisco, Michael Deeb. How's it going, Michael Deeb?
What's happening? Is the Mint 400 not like the most current rendition of the race that was going on during Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Would that not be the most contemporary version of that race? Does anybody?
That is, in fact, what it is, and it's going on right now. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That gives me a degree of FOMO because of how much I love that book. So, anyway,
I mean, if you want, anyways, yeah, we can talk more about the Mint 400. We also have, of course, Wade Bennett from Tech Daily in studio. How you doing, Wade?
I am great. I fought the madness. I came here, and I'm happy to be in studio. And I have to say, it's an honor to be in here today because we have a way more extra special guest than I am, and I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, you kind of should be. Yeah, sorry, we had a little technical thing there. As always,
butchering the softball intro right there, just messing with the buttons. But
all right, you guys are waiting. You're like, oh, who is it? Who could it possibly be? We have a real expert joining us from Avant-Garde. I think I said it right. MaTT Crandall. These guys have sold 1,300 cars on Bring a Trailer. That's insane.
And
I told you, and counting. Welcome, Matt. How are you? What's going on, buddy?
Hey, thank you guys for having me back. This is pretty cool. I do have to admit, I do watch the show quite frequently. It's pretty cool, and it's been a wild ride on Bring a Trailer, and we just keep on going.
Well,
see now, JP, I got to tell you, I'm very suspicious of that remark right off the bat. See, I can't believe for a minute that 911R is a fan of the Bid Nerds. I actually think Matt is trying to protect the reputation of 911R, and he uses a burner account to comment on Bid Nerds so he can defend everything that 911R does. That's what I think is happening.
I plead the fifth on that.
All right, we'll go ahead and admit that this is not actually MaTT Crandall. We have digitally, it's a deep fake.
AI.
He's an AI deep fake.
It's Rami Mirza.
Yeah, exactly, with a really cool mask. Again, thanks for joining us again, Matt. We're going to go ahead and get to the show. But before we do, we got to shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas. If you are looking for parts for your classic Porsche, or you want a classic Porsche, Godden Classic is the first place to start on that journey. Give them a holler and let them know the Bid Nerd sent you when you start looking for those parts. And if you're looking at your watch going, you know, what time is it? I gotta watch that Bid Nerd show. But your watch is going a little slow and you're like, going, what is wrong with this thing? You need to get your fine Swiss watch serviced at our good friends at Our Smiths in Idaho. Anthony will get that watch in tip-top shape in lickety-split time, man. He is the best service master technician for Rolex, Patek Philippe, all those great fine Swiss watches. If your watch needs service, send your watch up to Our Smiths. Also, just like Godden Classic, he always has a great selection of classic vintage watches for sale as well. So you can set your watch and know when to catch Bid Nerds live. All right, thanks for hanging out, guys. This show, what we do is we dig through Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids and P-Car Market, and we find the most interesting cars. We have a conversation about the cars that we think are the most interesting ones, and then we make predictions as to what we think the results of their auctions will be, and we're always wrong. Our guests are always better at it than we are, and so is the Nerd Herd. The Nerd Herd is coming in strong tonight. All the usual suspects. Anthony's here from Our Smiths. He's hanging out. Hey, what's up, Anthony? We got Chris Brunelli. We got Aussie. Let's see here. Who else we got? Carbine is here, of course.
Yeah, New Orleans. We got the group in New Orleans.
The
group in Idaho, the Potato Syndicate. Is that right?
That's right. The Spud Syndicate.
The Spud Syndicate.
Gotta get the Spud Syndicate.
Spud.
Correct,
I'm Irish. I should know Spud. Yeah, it's like a nickname. All right, cool.
A bunch of those guys are going to be coming down to join us for a special episode of Bid Nerds the Wednesday before Air and Water. The Sunday after.
They're all going to hit it on the way back too.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So wouldn't it? I might
drive out for the Wednesday just for the shits and giggles, and then drive across to Costa Mesa with you guys. But then Sunday, when everybody wakes up and goes home, I'll just head back to San Francisco and try to get to my studio, aka my office, in time. But that'll be fun. Good times.
Sounds like an excellent plan. All right, we made some predictions on the last episode, and we need to get to those predictions. What was the first car on the list from the last episode, Michael Deeb? Let's go ahead and look at how wrong our predictions were from that one. That's always a good way to start.
All right, JP. On Bring a Trailer was this 1973 Datsun 240Z with a 4-speed manual. This car is alleged to have 32,000 original miles, offered out of Denver, Colorado. The big news here for me was a car that allegedly has kind of ridiculously low miles when you consider the car is almost as old as I am, which is forever. But what I loved about the car was that it was basically plain stock and in this really cool colorway of Kilimanjaro white with a black interior but red seats and red door cards. I still think this is an iconic livery for Japanese sports cars. I am a closeted Japanese sports car fanboy, and so while I've never owned a 240, I really like this one and thought if I had to have one, I think I could afford this one, and I love the colorway of it. This is the one I would choose for myself. With that in mind, I thought this car had a chance to get to $44,000 where I believed it would sell. You took a pragmatic tact underneath me at just $39,240. I see what you did there. And then Wade Bennett came in with one of his new wage, unusual organic bids of $29,750. And was it 36 cents, Wade? Thank you for that bid. And we had Frank Amoroso from San Diego, a good buddy of mine, a good buddy of ours on the show, big Porsche fanboy, and considered the M491 Turbo Guru. Every time one of these cars pops up on an auction site, somebody in the comments says, I can't wait to see what Frank says. Like anybody cares. Of course, we care. We had him on the show, and he bid $40,240. So this is our first chance to put you on the spot, Matt. Besides shepherding all of the cars that you are regularly running through 911R Avant-Garde on Bring a Trailer, do you watch closely some of the other interesting cars on both Bring a Trailer as well as some of the other competitive auction sites? Or do you watch, or are you busy taking all those great photographs?
No, I scan most all the auction sites a little bit every day. I spend probably most of my time on BaT 100% because we have like 12 running today and 12 in the queue, and who knows. But I spend mainly on Bring a Trailer. I do like looking over at Cars and Bids some. P-Car I don't spend much time on, and the rest of them are just also run really. And
fair
game. Still around?
Game. Did you catch this car? Did you remember noticing this car with the white and red?
I didn't see that one, but it was a great colorway for that car. Absolutely.
Good. So
if the miles are right?
Yeah.
Gosh, a couple years ago that car would have been huge. I'd say today the car is probably, I guess, 42.
42 is a good bid. That's a really good bid. JP, our car sold for $41,000 on a respectable 36 bids. So it got good action. Matt, you were in the conversation, but Frank Amoroso, Mr. M491, would have won that one with his bid of $40,240. Let me go right back to you, Matt, because you said a couple of years ago this car would have brought more money. How many years back are we going, and what do you think that premium would have been if he hit it right, so to speak? You know what I mean?
Right, right at the pre-COVID, right at COVID, these cars seem like we're going nuts. I think I sold worth like 60 grand with low miles and good color combo. Yeah. Those are good cars. They have a bunch of little stuff. There's lots of little fanboys on what year this and that and in details, but early 240Zs are definitely collectible.
Yeah. And is it like an old Porsche where if the car is stock, it's likely to bring more money than if somebody goes and does like a resto mod, and then you narrow the appeal of who would want the car with the mods you selected for it? Is that, do they translate?
Yeah, I've gone both ways on 240Zs. We sold a modified 240Z that was pretty tricked out, but really done right, and it brought more than any of the other stock ones. But usually stock on those cars did really well. But I get kind of like the long hood stuff. When you drive the stock ones, they're just not very exciting. As in 911 long hood cars, early just stock cars, where you give them a little more mod, the market goes up. I think on the hot rod stuff.
Wade, you were pretty pragmatic on this car. What was the reasoning behind your low bid?
Yeah, I was super bearish. I'm glad this car pulled a decent number. It's just, I don't know if this is the best, nicest example of a low mile car. When I was scrolling through the pictures as I was watching this close, I thought it was maybe a little rougher than I would have expected for a car that's supposed to be as nice as it is. But at the end of the day, it still pulled a decent amount of money. And I know, like you said, 3 or 4 years ago, this might have gone even higher, but I think 6 or 7 years ago, we would have never thought this was a $40,000 or $50,000 car. And now it is. And I think, it's having its time now. I don't know if it will continue to be this strong, but for right now, if you have really low miles of this kind of car, I think it's time to sell and get all the money.
Mm.
Yeah,
documentation.
The thing. What's that?
I say, the documentation of the miles and the story of the car means a lot. The presentation is, I'd say, pretty light on that car. If it was all documented, it could go worth way more.
These are definitely not what you would call avant-garde photos. No. This car, look, if you put it out in the desert in front of a train and got some, golden hour light, I think they probably would have made another 5-10 grand, right?
Roll it out of the warehouse at least.
Yeah, pull it, like Wade just said, pull it out of the warehouse, for crying out loud.
Spend some time.
That is right. All right. What do you guys think of the results of this Nissan, or I can't even call it Nissan, it's a Datsun 240Z. Was this car well bought? Is that all the money in the world? Or should they have called Matt and put it in front of a train and put a bird on it? You're in Oregon, right? You're like in that's a Portland thing. Let us know in the comments below. And what other cars did we talk about on the last episode, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, this is an interesting lot. You picked up for us this 2011 Porsche 911 Speedster that's on P-Car Market, showing just 2,800 miles out of Spring, Texas. And what was interesting about this car is while we looked at it with a couple days to close, it was only at about $100,000. And we all agreed that this was roughly a $300,000 example, maybe just under that. But that we didn't think bidding also on the platform as well as the car. None of us thought that this car had a chance to sell, and we all wondered just how far off it would be. So I started the bidding, and I was the most bearish on this one. I said $198,000, and of course we all assumed that it would wind up in the chum bucket. The deal tank for over north of 300 grand. JP, you came in at $234,997. See what you did there. And Wade Bennett took an over you. Actually, Wade was the high man in studio at $269,000. And guest third nerd Frank Amoroso said 250 grand is all it would make. And again, Frank concluded that this would wind up in the deal tank. Let's put you on the spot one more time, Matt. Looking at a low mile of the 3 colorways, I think the blue is the most popular. I'm sure you know these cars about as well as anybody. So I don't know that the blue ones are more special, but the miles are low. Presentation is fair. But, we would all contest it's on the wrong platform. I like the ceramic brakes, but where are you at with this car? Where would you guess the hammer would fall, also considering the platform?
Yeah, also, considering the platform is probably, I'd say 265 to I'll go 270 is what really the car should bring. I mean, that's a car I'm always having people looking for. Very desirable car. It should bring. I've sold for over 3. So let's say I'm going to say 270. I'm going to go higher.
270. Very good. Okay, so that's a really good guess. And here's what happens, right? So, to all of our surprise, the car made $290,000 before the hammer fell after 21 bids, where it failed to sell, and now resides in the chum bucket with an asking price of $330,000. So, let's just start with that, Matt, because you're saying that you think this car, the ACV on this car is around 270. So the obvious question I'm going to lob over to you is, do you think he should have taken the 290 and ran? Is that all the money for the blue one with 3,000 miles?
Probably take it. Probably should take it. Again, those cars a year ago were over 3. I think that's probably why I took it.
Yeah. And Wade, you said as much when you gave us your bid at 269. You said you didn't think this car was worth over 300, but you also didn't think it would sell. So you gave us a little bit lower bid at 269. Are you surprised by the result? And do you think at 290 you should have taken the money based on your thoughts from just a few minutes ago?
I am surprised it hit 290 on this platform, but at the same time, like we said last show, there's only 375 or whatever of these cars in the world. So if you want one, you're probably, when one pops up for sale, and you're probably going to be bidding on it. I don't know that this is the $330,000 example of this car. We've seen on Bring a Trailer, there are examples with way lower miles, and there was a yellow one that we saw was a paint to sample example that I think went for way more. So at 290 on this platform, all the stars aligned for a sale, and I think holding out for 330 is not the move.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, to that end, here is the yellow one we were just talking about. This one closed, I don't know, a day or two later, or maybe a day earlier.
No, same day.
Was it same day? Okay, fair enough, whatever. This is a paint to sample car that arguably adds significant money, especially when you're talking about Porsche buyers. They're always kind of crazy about that. By the way, Randy got a Yahtzee out there, and the one of the Nerd Herd members got a Yahtzee out there. So congratulations! I think we owe Randy a guest spot. I think all the Nerd Herd members, if you get a Yahtzee, isn't that the deal that we got to have you on as a third nerd at some point?
Yeah. Every time Randy gets a Yahtzee, we send a Speedo and a beanie to New Zealand for no reason, to some random address in New Zealand. So thank you, Randy, for clothing the Kiwis.
JP, let's to that end, though, I mean, look, it's going to be if those are the people we invite the show, we're really going to look bad. We look bad enough already. We should be bringing the people who get it as wrong as possible to make ourselves look better. But bad strategy. What's the difference between these two cars?
So Matt, this car is in Canada, the yellow one. It's only got 2,200 miles, but it is paint to sample. Apparently, this particular shade of yellow was not an offered color to our knowledge. Our car on Bring a Trailer got a single bid at $325,000, and we juxtaposed this car against the P-Car market car, and then they both closed the following day when we should show on Sunday. Well, this car didn't get another bid, so it failed to sell at $325,000, sitting in Canada, paint to sample, 2,200 miles. Based on 290 for the other car, not the asking price at 330, but based on the bid for a car that's on the ground in the United States, would you also agree that at $325,000, this seller should have taken the money?
Yeah, 100%. The Canadian to dollar, U.S. dollar stuff is pretty aggressive
in their
right
favor.
now.
Yeah,
and people are, a lot of people are scared about bringing a car in, what it takes to do it. And there's a lot of fees in doing that. So the U.S. dollar is much stronger than the Canadian buyer's market. That makes no sense why they didn't sell.
Well, so 2 failed Speedsters out there. I can see Matt going, "Hey, look, I got to go," and he's going to start calling these people and get this car. He's got inventory sitting there.
Yeah. Well, all right. Hey, Matt, do you think it's seasonal? I mean, do you think in April, May, when the sun starts coming out in most of the country? Because I mean, it's been a really fair winter, and I think the summer season, buying season, is already starting. But do you give that any credence to the result?
I really don't, because going back to all the days I've been selling cars, it seemed like I always sold more convertibles in December. People like to buy their summer toy in the winter and dream about it. And then when it comes to summer, I feel like the sports car market slows off because people are out enjoying it and already made their plans. So I never really bought into that.
And that's how you can tell avant-garde is not in the Midwest.
Well, I'm sitting here in my office in Scottsdale, so it's pretty beautiful here.
Yeah. Well, JP's in Vegas, and he drives his convertible year-round. So there
exactly.
you go. Yeah.
I like that. He's not a cabrio-phobe. That's a good man right there. All right, let's move on to the next car that we got wrong and the nerds got right.
All right, JP.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. Before you get to, I do need to say, what do you guys think of the results of this Speedster? Let us know in the comments below. And I also want to give a shout out. We got new Nerd Herd members here. A lot of folks in the Nerd Herd watching live right now, but we got some folks that like Racer Nerd. Love that name, Racer Nerd. He's in the chat right now. He says that he watches the show, but this is the first time he's been able to catch it live. So welcome to the Nerd Herd. Everybody in the Nerd Herd, make sure you say hello.
Subscribe button.
Racer Nerd, yeah. I want to know if you created that handle on YouTube just so you could comment on this show. That's what I want to know. Or did you already have that and then we just lined up on coincidence? Like that's a really, I think, important question. We got to qualify these
Wade,
guys.
give him some advice, will you?
As a first-time watcher, hello, welcome. And if you want to make sure you see us, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it, and you'll never miss a live show ever. There you go. No matter how late we are every week.
Wow.
Which actually isn't that often.
If you can't go to Tech Daily, we bring Tech Daily to you. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, now let's move on to the next car that we made a prediction on. What do we got?
All right, JP. MaTT Crandall's next car, a 2022 Porsche Taycan 4 Cross Turismo. This car is on cars and
I have no idea. You got me.
Give us your name, rank, and serial number.
What's the timestamp? We got him to blush in a record amount of time. That was good.
Oh,
all
Jesus.
Right. Our car is on Cars and Bids. It's showing 13,500 miles out of Parker, Colorado. Matt, you'll be happy to know that your new car is sporting 21-inch Cross Turismo design wheels. It's got rear axle steering, Porsche dynamic chassis control, and Porsche torque vectoring plus, InnoDrive, adaptive cruise, lane keep, all the other stuff, 18-way sport seats. But listen, this is not an S. This is a base Taycan 4 Cross Turismo, and it's got $25,000 in options. It's black with like a really light Dove interior, but somebody went and wrapped this thing in a coral ice blue exterior wrap, which I condemned it. I thought this car would do better if it was in black. JP and somebody else, one of the other two guys that was on the show with us, agreed with John that the color is eye-catching, and it's what would get you to stop on the page and actually look at this Cross Turismo versus scrolling over a bunch of other ones. I think they should have led, Cars and Bids should have led with a Cross Turismo with PDCC, because all the Porsche guys will know that this is a car that was equipped to drive. In any case, we were all a little bearish on this thing. I thought I was the most, but apparently it was Wade. So I said $82,000, and I thought it would sell for that number. John liked it more than me at $89,000. Wade, as I mentioned, took the under at $79,000. And then Frank Amoroso picked it up and parked it right underneath JP at $87,000. So these cars sell for in the mid $80,000 range. This one's wrapped. It's got a couple miles on it, but it's got some nice equipment. It's also on, Doug DeMiro's site. Care to just throw a salami at the wall and see if it sticks? What's your bid on this one, Matt?
81.5.
81.5 is a very good bid. You'd be in the hunt. You would get the second place ribbon. Wade Bennett won this one because our car sold for just $75,000 on 9 bids. Now, I can't remember what we were saying just a couple of minutes ago when we started to look at this thing, but I'm guessing, JP, that this car got one or none new bids in the final day of the auction. I don't know that this car got too many. In other words, at 75, I don't think it got very much more money from where we were looking at it. But anyway, Wade, you kind of nailed this one. tell us your thinking. You surprised by that result? What do you make of it? Read the tea leaves for us.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I really and truly didn't think this car would hit 80,000. The wrap was probably something enticing to someone, but I don't think that was the explanation as to why it didn't get more money. Like you said, this is a base car with a ton of options. I mean, the MSRP on this car was like $120 something thousand, and it had like 10,000 miles or 15,000 miles. So this person lost like $1,000 a mile in the year that they had this, which is crazy. Wow. But you know, at the end of the day, this is a used base EV that's like fun and funky because it's a Porsche and it's a 4-door wagon and it's whatever. But we have seen EVs just absolutely tanking. It's a used EV. It's very niche, and I don't really think there was much more money in this. And honestly, at this price, I feel like it's not the worst buy in the world, because this isn't going to be a $30,000 car next year. I think it has a really steep initial depreciation curve, but it's probably going to stay in that like $60,000 to $70,000 range for a little while longer. So being a second or third owner is probably the best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, this car, I think if you're going to be stuck with an EV, this kind of seems like the one to have. It is the coolest EV, I think most people agree, that is on the market, at least by the way it looks. I mean, I always say if you want an EV, get a Tesla. As much as I don't particularly like Teslas, at least you can get the damn things charged. But, you know, we talked about on the last episode, Matt, that I still believe that there are some crazy things going on outside of the car market that could drastically affect the car market, like the potential. There are a lot of forces that could cause gas prices to go up tomorrow morning. We could go to sleep tonight and get up tomorrow, and gas prices could be literally twice as much. That is not a ludicrous thing, possibility. That is a very, very real thing. And I still think that if something like that happens, and I also think that maybe gas prices not doubling overnight, but I could see them going up significantly sometime between now and November. And if that does, what will that do to the market when it comes to EVs? Will that all of a sudden start the whole frenzy again? What do you think, Matt?
Well, you know, with them losing the big tax credits on these EVs, they're all sitting on the floors. I mean, my buddies are new car store owners, and they're crying hard about the EV market and what to do with them, because they're not selling. So something's have to come in. I think, and come back to with the tax credits. Because that's what pushed all these things over the hump, in my opinion. Gas prices, gas is cheap right now. And
today, that's my point.
Today.
Right?
But
what time is it?
If it doubles,
yeah, my Hour Smith service watch. What's that?
Yeah, exactly. But even if it doubles, it's sure it's going to slow down, but I don't know if it's going to jumpstart the EV market enough. I'm still pretty much a skeptic on a lot of this stuff. But I drive cars that are usually 30 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our buddies in Louisiana basically said that the Mercedes dealer network down there around New Orleans are renting a lot, and they've got hundreds of the Mercedes line of electric cars that are just sitting on the ground. And they're just sitting there and they're not moving. Like they're paying.
That's every dealership that carries EVs now are full of them. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mercedes,
it's wild.
Mercedes has the most, or they did at one point, they had the most models of electric vehicles out of all the manufacturers. So I don't doubt that they have a huge inventory. They, a couple of years ago, went all in on the EVs with their EQ line. And now they're like, oh, wait, I think we made a mistake. And now they're stuck.
Yeah. You don't even see them on the road. I mean,
you don't. Absolutely.
No, you just don't see. You're like, when you see them, like, oh, that's different, because it's so rare. It's not like a Tesla or something.
But the Mercedes ones don't really look any different. That's the thing. They're kind of hard to notice. They just look like a GLE or whatever.
No, they look like eggs.
Goofy front.
That
goofy front
I just don't
grill
notice
on
them.
If you pulled up an EQS right now, you'd be like, oh my God, that's the ugliest thing.
Honestly, you don't see them, so you're right. You just don't think of it because you just don't see them.
The Mercedes line of electric vehicles looks a little bit like a suppository and a little bit like the worms from Doom.
Hold on a second, but that's every SUV built in the last 25 years, other than a G-Wagon or a Wrangler, or the old Defender. Right. I think it's like that's kind of everything's built in a wind tunnel. What about these EVs? We're talking about dirt lots full of them. Back in you used to have enough car lot attendants to be able to move the cars around. And it's one thing when you have an ICE car, internal combustion engine car just sitting for months. Everyone in this room who drives old Porsches knows that, you definitely don't want an old Porsche to sit, but the only thing that letting an old Porsche sit or an old Ferrari is letting an EV sit. How bad is it for an EQE or whatever the hell they call it, sitting in the Scottsdale desert for 6 months and no one's even touched the car? I mean, that's got to be, boy, I can only imagine.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
What
or
do
if
you...
you're in the frozen areas too. I mean, the frozen areas, it's really bad in the batteries. So the two extremes is just, there's a lot of negatives.
All right, Nerd Herd, what do you guys think of the results of this Taycan? This was the it's not a Grand Turismo. It's a Cross Turismo.
Cross Turismo.
I gotta get the right Turismo. It's I got my Turismos crossed. Do you think this EV they should have opened up that hatch and put all that money in there and taken it, or do you think I don't know? Whatever. Let us know in the comments below, and we're gonna be right back with new predictions right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Get those nerds! Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, guys, welcome back. In studio right now, we don't have a camera on him, but we got my old friend Jay. Jay, how you doing, buddy? Hold on. I don't think I got his mic on. Let's try that again.
Are we good now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Yeah, no, it's been great down here for the Mint 400 and just kind of enjoying things for once. I'm not racing. I'm just spectating, so checking it out. I might race next year, I think. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's a little different world that I've been in, but,
Well, welcome to Vegas. We'll chat it up when the show's over. And but right now, you're gonna play a little Prices Right with classic cars. You all right with that?
No, sure.
I know. I don't think we have any big brodozers on the list tonight. But what's the first car we do have on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP. I selected for us off of Bring a Trailer a 1992 Audi S4 with a 6-speed manual. Our car is listed out of Winter Garden, Florida, showing 190,000 kilometers because it is a Euro example. 190,000 kilometers, which is about 118,000 miles. These cars are powered by a turbocharged 2.2-liter inline-5 with a 6-speed manual, locking rear differential, of course, the Quattro all-wheel drive system. This car has been subtly and gently upgraded. It's got 17-inch BBS wheels. It's got UFO brake calipers, and let's see, JBC stereo. The car looks to be in really nice condition in black with the cloth sport seats, which I always love. And JP, even though I wouldn't trust a car like this on a long road trip, I've always been a huge fan of Audis from this era, especially as the Quattro thing began to bring success to Audi in rally racing and in world motorsports. We began to see the trickle-down effect of some of the cool parts that Audi was incorporating into some of their road cars. And the 2.2-liter inline-5 was something special. It wasn't spectacular, but it was a cool car. 227 horsepower, about 258 pound-foot of torque. So I see a strut tower brace on the front of this car. The car was involved in some minor accident on the Carfax report, but I think a car of this vintage, cosmetic condition can really drive the value here, especially in an online auction. So JP, I am a fanboy of the Audis from this era. It's probably a good driving car, not a great driving car. It's probably got, moderate performance, not spectacular performance. And these cars have never really been highly collectible or highly valuable. But it's nice to see a survivor that somebody spent a little bit of money on to keep it on the road. And the mileage is not totally out of the question. I have it on good authority, MaTT Crandall, that the BBS, the 17-inch BBS wheels that are on this car are called avant-garde. So my first question is, do you have that trademarked, and what do I owe you every time I say avant-garde?
Exactly. No trademark there. That's good.
Yeah.
I do get people calling for wheel parts sometimes though.
JP, have you ever driven one of these cars in anger? And as somebody that grew up in the Pacific Northwest, I assume that you have a lot of friends that had cars like this, even if they didn't love them growing up. Subarus and Audis must have ruled the world if you weren't in a brodozer. What do you think?
Sorry, guys. We have a little sound thing going on in the studio here. One word, Ronin. Wade, what do you think of the car? No, nobody got Ronin? Nobody got the Ronin thing?
Wrong
Come
car.
on. It's the right car. It's the right car. What do they have in the Ronin?
S8.
This one's
S8,
this is the same. This is the better car. Really?
Yeah, the Ronin was just younger. That's all.
S8.
It's the same body style though, right? No?
Yeah, it's their big sedan, but it's bigger, you know.
See, that's the thing. I guess with the Audis, that's when I stopped caring. You know, I'm like so over the Audi thing. They're such pieces of junk. I remember in the 80s when, when they got in all kinds of trouble, and it wasn't really their fault. I kind of feel bad for Audi when they, when everyone was saying, what was the problem? Was it people were saying
unintended acceleration?
Yeah,
They get nadered.
Yeah, my
Ralph
aunt
Nader, yes.
was
Nader.
one. My aunt was one of those people. She was, I'm sure she contributed to that whole thing and stepped on the wrong pedal because she was an octogenarian at the time driving an Audi 5000. But I just see this car and that's all I think, and it just bores me to tears. Wade, what do you think of this car?
Yeah, I'm not fully on your side, but I think this is from an Audi generation that doesn't really entice me or the people that I know who are really big fans of Audi right now. The post 2000 Audi cars are really popular. They're really interesting. This one, it doesn't really do much for me. And I think it has some weird elements. The fact that it's a Euro car is kind of odd. I mean, I think these cars were sold in the US, so why import this example? I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me. It wasn't available in the US? No. Oh, so, I mean, I guess maybe there's some intrigue in it not being from the US, but I mean, other than that, I see a Facebook Marketplace used car that's older than my time, and it's just not really for me. I would much rather have other Audis than this one, in my opinion.
All right. Well, Matt, are we going to get to bids here? Let's just get to bids.
No, let Matt talk for a second.
Wait, I did though.
Yeah, he's our guest. But he knows these cars. Right. He's in the Pacific Northwest.
A little bit. He's a Northwest guy. I really like the 90 series coupes. I thought those were really cool when they came out with the 10-cylinder motor, turbo motor. That was a great little car. The sedan like this, I don't think was ever very exciting myself. But I drove a lot of those Audis back in the day, and they were pretty good. But this being the Euro car is interesting, but it is kind of just a used old car.
Mm-hmm. All right, no love. I tried. Sorry, Audi. All right, JP. Our car closes basically tomorrow. It's currently sitting at $8,992 on just 11 bids. These cars don't come up very often. They never bring big money. I don't think we've ever seen one that brought like over $30,000. It's not to say that they haven't, but the few occasions that we've looked at them, they've never brought that. I do think this car, even though it's below 10 grand, has a chance to reach 20. And again, I'm probably the biggest fanboy in the audience, so I'm going to go $21,000 and know that I am standing way out on top of the mountain all by myself. JP, hit me with your best shot. Where you at?
I mean, I'm gonna go. What's this?
The average price of these is 14 or 15.
12,000. I'm trying to make an S4 thing. Just $12,004. That's all I got. I just don't care. Wade, what do you think?
I'll give you a little bit more. $14,444.
$14,000. We're gonna now hold on. We're gonna get Matt's bid here in just a second, but I'm gonna let Jay hop in. What do you think, Jay?
Oh my gosh, this is one of those cars.
Today, it's a short show. Come on.
11.5.
11.5. All right, now Matt gets the last bid. What do you think, Matt?
I was actually lower than at first than where it's bidded now, but I'm gonna come at 14,750.
Okay, all right.
14,750. All right, there we go.
The
Moving on.
The
Onward
one thing
and
it does have is it has that cool. I love the script on the seats. That's the only thing I like about this car. Is those seats look great.
Cloth.
The sport class seats. Everything else is just like, all right, whatever. All right, let us know what you guys think this Audi S4 will bring. I sure wish they would have brought better photos. I mean, I know we say it over and over again. I'm not just saying that because Matt's here and he's the king of that sort of thing, but how
good reason
crazy does it drive you? We opened up the show. Our consignors insane, right? You, Matt, you're one of the ultimate consignors on Bring a Trailer. How often do you guys get potential sellers that come to you, or basically car owners that come to you and say, "Hey, we want to sell the car, but hey, my cousin, he has a really nice camera. He'll take the pictures. I don't want to pay the fee or whatever." How often do you get that kind of BS?
I get that all the time. Like, let me. I'm pretty good. I got I took a class in the college and stuff. It's just like it's stupid. Then they show me what they got, and even some of the real guys that think they're real car photographers, they bring me stuff. I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do with this? It's all HDR'd and craziness. And, Josh
Nothing worse than HDR.
Yeah, Josh Bryan, my photographer, he'll lose his mind and just run off a cliff when he sees that stuff.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and how
do you remember? Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, how do you talk them off a cliff when they present you this stuff? And I mean, it's like telling someone their baby is ugly. When they lead in with like, I bought a $6,000 camera, I got a Leica, bro. It's a Leica. Come on, how could this picture not be awesome? What do you do?
Well, the funny thing is we have a car it's on right now, and the guy is, prides himself as a good amateur photographer, and he's like insisted they go on the photo shoot with us. So I'm like, all right, meet us at 5 a.m. And he gets out there, and we set up our rig, and he's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I should just sell my camera gear. I mean, it's just, it's people have no idea what it takes to take a really good, proper photo and do all this stuff. So when I see, cars online, especially high-end stuff, it was like, and they don't put the effort into presenting their car, they're just shooting themselves in the foot so bad.
I love your strategy. Get them out there at 5 a.m. when the light is right. That's like a barrier right there. They're like, huh? What do you mean? Can't we do it? But it's sunny out today. Why don't we do it at noon when it's bright and nice? It's like
exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, then we get the guys online that will you go out and take some direct sunlight photos with your iPhone? I'm like, really?
Yeah. Straight to the brain.
Do you remember, Matt, just a couple of years ago where every other car on Cars and Bids was taken in a parking lot with a dumpster in the background? Do you remember that? 2022?
Yeah.
The golden era of photography on Cars and Bids? Holy God.
Exactly.
Every car we covered, JP was just like eating
There's
his
a dumpster
hat,
somewhere.
like,
Yes, I see that.
If you want a nice digital camera,
ideas.
you just go to Tech Daily and Wade over here will tell you where to get the best. Yeah. It's all in the camera, right, Wade?
No, it's not. The thing about it is these iPhones are really, really powerful, but most people,
very powerful.
They take a picture and their foot's in it and it's crooked and it's out of focus and they're like, this is good, right? And we're just like, I mean, we've seen some atrocities, and the contrast between those listings and the listings that he has, I mean, the dollar value is just exponentially more when you present it well and you take the pictures and you have somebody who knows what they're doing. It's night and day difference.
I always like the trees and the lampposts growing out of the back of the car.
Right, or the reflection right in the middle. It's like, okay, if you put me in an F1 car and what's his name, Max Verstappen, Verstappen or whatever, in a Nissan Sentra, he's gonna win because I'm not gonna be able to get the damn F1 car to move. I can't even get out of the pits, right? I don't even know how to turn the damn thing on, and he's gonna be sipping champagne and banging supermodels before I'm even like out on the damn road. So it's the same thing with cameras, people. Just because you have a nice camera, if you don't know how to use it, the machine cannot make the decision. Hire a professional. Anyways, okay, let's move on to the next car. I really wanted to, thanks for letting me vent on that, Matt, and we really appreciate you kind of chiming in.
Being a good sport.
That. Yeah, it's you're doing God's work. All right, what's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, I picked a car that I assume none of us really know that much about. This is on Cars and Bids, a 2014 McLaren P1. Last year, we saw Doug DeMuro sell a Lamborghini Countach for what we assumed at that time was a pretty high watermark. And ever since then, Doug's consignments, especially the lots that he's been getting, have been moving gently further and further up market. GT3s, a lot more Ferraris now, and the occasional supercar. So here we are, arguably one of the most ultimate supercars of the last decade. It's hard to believe that the P1 is now 10 years old, 11 in dog years, because whatever they're building now is going to be a 2025. But this car is on Cars and Bids, and that's what I thought made it so interesting. Located in Beverly Hills, showing just 4,700 miles. The P1 is just an unbelievable car. This was almost a homage to the F1 that made McLaren, legendary. Just 375 units of this car were made. It's a twin-turbo hybrid V8 with over 900 horsepower in a wild MSO fusion green. And then this car is equipped with something that I assume is not standard, and an option that I think MaTT Crandall and myself would take, McLaren's Trick Race Active Chassis Control Suspension. So anyways, supercar, unbelievable, less than 400 units made, reasonably low miles, and certainly not a car that parked in somebody's garage. I do think somebody drove this thing. There you have it. Doug DeMuro's trying to sell a $1 million plus supercar with just 4,700 miles on it out of Beverly Hills. JP, what do you think when you see the photos on this site? Is it on the wrong platform, or do you think he stands a chance based on the success he's had, basically starting last year when he got the infusion of cash and started selling some vintage supercars, and now he's got a modern one? You think he's up to it, or did this guy pick the wrong platform and have too much faith in Cars and Bids? Where you at?
Well, Doug DeMuro hasn't upgraded his shorts. He's still got the big cargo pants, but he's definitely upgrading the inventory on the platform and doing a generally better job when it comes to presentation. Like, I haven't really dug through this listing yet. I don't see the dumpsters in the background. These are not crazy impressive photos. The first couple were far better than these. These definitely look like just, snapshots or whatever. And sometimes I think that's okay. I think there's something to like having a batch of really beautiful, spectacular, romanticism photos right at the beginning to get your attention. And then just like, okay, tonnage, tons and tons and tons of photos that show you absolutely everything, evenly exposed, not too bright, no hot spots. There's some honesty in a batch of photos like this that shows that, hey, okay, the seller isn't trying to hide anything. Because I think sometimes when the photo presentation gets too fancy, you can tell that there are things that are being hidden. I'm not saying that that's what happens all the time, but let's be honest, a lot of times that's what's going on. So yeah, I think this car definitely has a chance on Doug DeMuro's site. These cars don't really do anything for me. I mean, it's an absolutely spectacular, amazing hypercar. Sure, whatever. I can't tell the difference between this and an old, 720 or whatever. The McLarens have never really done anything for me visually. They just I can't tell the difference between this and an Acura NSX and a new Ford GT or whatever. I mean, they all kind of blob together, like you were saying, a suppository style, design. So yeah, I'm just not into it. I would love to drive one, but I don't really want to look at it. Wade, this car is your generation. What do you think?
It is. I can't believe you just took a dump on this car. But at the same time, I can, because it's you. No,
I mean, come on. Yeah. Are you new? Have we met? Do I need to come over and shake hands and go, hi, Wade, my name's JP?
I guess so. Yeah. It's tough. The pictures are great. The representation is great. It's being sold through O'Gara Beverly Hills. I think they've had this car for sale and decided to put their trust in Daddy Doug. And he did do a video on this car on his main channel. So it's gotten all the exposure you could possibly want to have on a car like this. Like Michael Deeb said, they made 375 worldwide. Only a handful came to the U.S. These don't sell very often, but when they do, the price range is actually quite wide. The spread on these is literally $1 million. And there are a number of factors. Yeah, there are a number of factors that come into play with a car like this. One thing that I browsed the listing and watched his video because I was kind of interested to see all the details about this car. It
Because
is
he wanted to watch something other than Bid Nerds. Holy cow.
yeah. Well, hey, I like to show up every once in a while and know something about a car. But I was genuinely interested because this isn't a car that you see every day. And one thing about this car, it is a hybrid, right? It has the battery system, and it was kind of one of the first cars that came into this hypercar realm where it was half combustion engine, half electricity. And there is the kind of question mark about the battery and the motor and everything. And I think the current owner or the dealership or whoever put this big fat deposit on a Gen 2 battery system in this car that these cars kind of, they need to be replaced, or a lot of owners or people interested in this car, they want the battery replaced to the upgraded system. So that is something that people have in mind as a cost. It could be a $50,000 or $100,000 at least cost. And there are people waiting for parts for this car because obviously they made so few and the parts are to be made. So that I think is a factor. I'm curious to see if that element of it being a Gen 1 battery system and the Gen 2 battery not quite being ready for this car maybe brings it down 10%, 15%. But otherwise, this is a really good example of a great car. And if you've been looking for one, I know this is for sale, and you probably have a big fat check ready for it.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, just like the LaFerrari, which is about the same exact era, those batteries are all now coming due, and I think they're over $200,000 on the Ferrari. That's
Sounds
a
right.
chunk. That's a chunk. I mean, even the starting battery for the LaFerrari is like $8,000. So I mean, this battery technology is very expensive on the stuff that's getting to this time era. So yeah, I think that's a bigger factor than maybe even 10%. I like the color, I like the car. They're amazing to drive. They're quite incredible. I will agree with McLaren styling. I even have a hard time telling the models apart when I'm looking at them. Like, what is that? Is it 720, 675? They have all these names and numbers that they're all about the same. It's confusing.
It's like buying a printer, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. No, it is.
You're at the Best Buy in the office department actually going, what ink cartridge do I get for my P1?
Right. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Matt, have you driven one of these?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Is all that?
Yeah.
It's fast, isn't it?
It was spectacular. It was awesome.
Yeah.
The McLarens, all the McLarens, they're the roll-on power on them is great. They're very quiet and subdued feeling in the sound, but they are fast. The handling is incredible on all of them. They just perform so well in every little category. I think in a lot of ways their engineering is totally undervalued because the cars are just so good when you drive them. I don't care if you get a 650, a 675, a 720. They all just you can drive it like your daily driver, or you can take it to the track and just rip. They're just so compliant.
Yeah, as long as you've.
So I am a fan.
Yeah, as long as you've got a compliant credit card. I mean, that's the
right. Yeah.
There is no inexpensive. I mean, look, how often have we bitched about having to pull the engine out of a 348 to change the spark plugs? I mean, that's nothing compared to having to mess with the electronics on one of these. And at least with a Ferrari, in almost any real city, you can find someone who actually works on Ferraris. But not. I mean, here in Las Vegas,
not the McLaren computer.
Yeah, no. It's got to get sent to LA or it's got to get sent to Scottsdale there or Phoenix somewhere.
Yeah. The support structure for McLaren is really light. To drive around with one with the check engine lights, okay, because you just can't get turned off.
Right. It's like an old. Was it Mark IV Volkswagen when all the check engine lights just come on all the time and you pretty much just put tape over it.
Just live with it.
I'm good. Yeah. And of course. I mean, yeah.
That's a McLaren.
Yeah, that's a McLaren. All right. Well, before we get to bids, I just wanted to shout out to everyone in the Nerd Herd. You guys are rocking it. We're seeing the bids come in. I just want to make sure you guys know that if you haven't, you got to subscribe. You got to hit the like button so I can share your bids. I know most of you guys have already hit the like button. I know most of you guys have already hit that subscribe. So thank you. As per usual, the Nerd Herd rocks. Let's get to bids. Michael Deeb, what do you think this car is going to bring?
All right. Our 2014 McLaren P1 is showing just 4,700 miles out of Beverly Hills, California. I think Wade mentioned it was with O'Gara, and the car is on Cars and Bids. It is currently at $1,000,000 $328,000 on 11 bids, and the car closes tomorrow. Now, JP, according to Haggerty, the highest sales for one of these has been about 2.4, and the lowest sale has been about 1.1, and the most recent sale has been around 1.6. According to Classic.com, the average price for one of these cars is $1.5 million. I think this car, in that colorway and with the new battery on order, is just a tick above the median average price. So I'm going to go along the lines of the most recent sale for one of these and give you my bid of $1.6 million. The question is whether or not the owner thinks that's enough to let it go. And again, you know, they got to pay for O'Gara, who is, I'm sure, consigning this car much in the same way something like Avant-Garde would represent the car for you, take all the assets, handle all of the logistics, in some cases hold the car on their premises and basically see the car onto transport and delivery. And Gara has been doing this. Our buddy MaTT Crandall does this. It's a cottage industry, and the ones that are doing it well are making a living at it and then some. So I think this car stands a chance, despite it being on Cars and Bids. I think the tea leaves are good. I'll give you 1.6 JP. Where are you at?
Stole my bid, so I'm going to put a buck above you and just go 1,600,000 P1. So 1,600,001. That's my bid, and we'll hand it off to Wade. What do you think?
You know, that's about what I thought as well. So I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to say 1,670,000, and still fails to sell because I think the dealership or whoever is probably eyeing those $2 million mark. But yeah, this is a tough car, and I think at 1.6 or 1.7 million, you should consider selling it.
Well, that's an interesting caveat, Wade. Wade thinks they're looking for $2 million. Matt, what do you make of all that? And what's your bid?
I think that's a little. I think it's 155.
Yeah,
that's my number.
Jay, you got a number?
The racing package thing sounds cool. I'm gonna go 172.
172. All right, there it is. Yeah, look. You get someone. Okay, this guy calls you, Matt, with this exact car, and he says.
Which he might in about a week.
Yeah, which you might be getting that call. Yeah. I want a $2 million reserve. How do you talk him off the ledge? What do you, or do you? Do you be like, let's give it a shot?
Well, I said, well, let's talk about it. You know, usually what I pull comps on all the cars I'm going to figure out. And I figure out, you know, as the comps are right, can I do better than the comps? Because most of the times I can. And so I just really want to, you know, I try to do it from an educated stance. Just, you know, make sure everybody's sights are right. Because, you know, if I go through and do all the work and the car doesn't sell and, you know, nobody's making money, nobody's moving forward, so nobody's happy.
Yeah. JP, you kicked over a really interesting rock. I want to just go with this for a second. We always talk about, because I work with Haggerty, having that tough conversation up front so that you can have easier conversations on the back end, which is when the hammer falls, you know, for your clients, essentially. My question to you is, JP and I love to take the piss out of P-Car Market for basically handling their clients and their auction platform like a domestic dealer closer, like a closer at Dodge. Get you in a room and start, come on, man, like move, give me something, give me something. How often is it your policy, and how often do you find with your clients you are negotiating moving the reserve or pulling the reserve in the final hour of the auction? Or is that a policy that once you guys come to an agreement, you let them ride on their number all the way to hammer? Or do you from time to time go, hey, I think we're as good as we're going to get, and you make a phone call while that clock is ticking down, and you're like, do you give me permission to pull the reserve and let me make a phone call to bring a trailer and get it sold for you? Does that happen with you guys?
I'd say 20% of the time that we get something and we're getting close, and we discovered something during the auction, or just deciding on the market, or deciding the expectations were a little high. You know, I kind of actually play your guys' game of guessing the bid. When we do our consignment paperwork, and we pick our reserves. But whenever I get to when I'm submitting my auctions, I always put in my guess for the reserve.
Yeah.
And I like to see how close I get. You know, it's my own little personal game. But usually we're right. We've discussed enough. We've locked it enough, and we're right. I always like to tell everybody I like to over deliver and under promise. So it's we try to be the ones where everybody's doing high fives at the end, and we exceeded that number. If we come in and have the high reserve, it doesn't make sense. Again, it doesn't work for anybody.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Fair
Well,
play. JP, we've had a lot of good third nerds come on here and beat us, but we've never had one admit that he practices before he comes on the show. Every one of his clients, he's guessing the bids. This guy's a ringer. Damn it.
he's OG, man. He was on the show back in the day. He's we got him early. He's an early adopter.
Yes.
Yeah. That JP and I always, every time we're at a car show, we say, "Oh boy, that MaTT Crandall, boy, we did a good job with him. We made him."
All right, guys.
Yeah,
what do you think this? What do you think this McLaren will bring? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're watching this show later, you'll find out soon. All right, let's get to the last car on the list. Michael Deeb, what do we got?
We do have two more, JP, if we can squeeze them in. Let's start with this 2010 Tesla Roadster Sport on Cars and Bids. This car.
You were gonna piss off Anthony from Hoursmiths.
No,
You're doing another EV? Are you
Yes,
kidding?
of
We're
course.
going to get in so much trouble.
We can kick it if you want to kick it. We can just
Go
go
ahead.
right
You've
to,
already started. You're in there.
All right.
You take the
All right.
ish from Anthony. That's all I got to say. He's a sponsor.
6,000. Yeah, go ahead and just text me direct, Anthony, but not while I'm on the show because I need my phone. 6,900 miles. It's a featured car. This car does have the R80 battery upgrade and a carbon fiber hardtop. These cars have really done a great job at holding their value, and much the way a lot of us think if we had the Rock'em Sock'em robots or our Star Wars action figures or an original Mac, we'd be loaded with money as far as collectability. I do think, not because of the performance, but because of the success that Tesla is having, that these early Roadsters are just going to continue to slightly go up in value. So this particular car is located in Fairfield, California. Again, under 7,000 miles. It is a sport. It's low miles. It's a take it or leave it. It's an eye-catching color. A lot of these were gray and burgundy. So to see one in like a
burgundy.
Hugger orange is kind of interesting. And it seems like it's had the battery upgrade. So not a lot to say. It's definitely on the right platform. I think, unless Wade tells me different, I would assume this is the nerd platform for this nerd car. So, JP, I just lob it over to you. A sub 7,000 mile sport in orange with the battery upgrade. Is this a $100,000 car on Doug DeMiro's site? Where are you at?
I mean, it certainly could be. I think it's kind of like the Great Wall of China. Yeah, well, I think Elon should have blasted this one into space because then we could see it from down here, like you could see the Great Wall from up in space. That's my take on this car. Wade, what do you think of the laser blaster orange?
Yeah, this thing is pretty wild. I mean, out of all of the original Teslas, this is definitely a very obscure color and a very nice example. We've seen these cars be very speculative. I know that it was a couple of months ago we saw somebody lose their shirt on one of these that they were probably the third or fourth owner over the last year or two because of the EV hype and the Tesla hype and the Elon hype. But I also still think like a really interesting low mile example of this car is probably a collector car that people have their eyes on. So I wouldn't be surprised that this is a six-figure car, but man, there's just so many other things I'd rather have than this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Matt?
Matt?
I sold, again, I was never really a fan of these cars. I have to say they are probably the only electric collectible car out there. I got one earlier this last year that Gruber went through, and we ran it on at the beginning of the year, and it did surprisingly well. I think it broke 100 or right there. People really like them. But it looks like it it's built on a Lotus chassis. It sure does not drive like a Lotus. Holy cow! barely stops. It's got so much battery in it. It's like, oh my god! How do you make one of the best driving cars in the world, a Lotus Elise, terrible? And this is it. But they are super collectible. People like them, and it's is definitely the first step off in the EV world.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about, Elon's the guy that said, in 20 years, driving a car will be like owning a horse, right? The idea is that it will be just enthusiasts that buy and own cars. With with everything that's going on in the world, and by the time our kids are driving let's say I don't even know what generation is a 10-year-old these days. By the time they're able to drive, are they going to even be able to drive ice cars on the road? And then 10 years after that, is anyone going to be able to drive an ice car? Is this the last collectible car because it's still an EV and this is the one thing that they'll let you still have? What do you think of that in general, Matt?
I think ice cars are going to be around for a long time. I really do. It's just the practicality of, the gas engine for, pulling a trailer, performance and just the motion of driving a car. I think, most Americans are going to be very still connected to a gasoline engine. I mean, be wrong, but I think so. I am.
Yeah, but that's because we all have gray beards. I mean, if you don't, what do you care about the driving experience? I mean, ask a Z generation that's like this all the time. They do not care how a car drives. They care how it drives maybe on Gran Turismo or something. Or
that's a great point. There's a lot of these kids that are out there and they really are into car games and all that, and they expect the cars to perform and drive like that. And I talk to a lot of kids and they are really connected to the performance. And, if you go drive any EV, sure, they might be the fastest 0 to 60, but that's it. They don't stop, they don't turn, they don't go around the racetrack, they don't have that visceral feel. And I'm sure in technology in the years they'll be able to go out and do a 6-hour race or something, but they sure aren't now. In Formula E they have to change cars, for God's sakes. It's totally different.
Yeah, but I mean, I can just see the people saying, I don't know what, back in 1920. I mean, riding on a horse is just such a visceral experience. You get to you feel the rain on your forehead, and you can go in between trees. With cars, you have to go where there's pavement or a road. That's ridiculous. I mean, all right, get off my lawn. I'm the old guy in the room. What do you guys think of this Tesla? We do need to get to bids. Did we do that even? See, I'm just already talking about this stuff. All right, let's get to bids and get out of this car real quick.
Really quickly, our car closes basically in 2 days from now. It's at $70,000 on 17 bids. I think because of the color, the battery upgrade, and the low miles, and the condition really in general, this car will break $100,000. I'm going to give it to you, JP, at $105,000 where it will sell. What's your bid?
$105,000. I'm gonna go. I mean, it's cars and bids. I got burned on the last cars and bids car. EV. Got excited about the color. I like the color of this car. I actually do. I think it's gonna get more attention. But that Taycan Cross Turismo screwed me up. And what we see on cars and bids all the time. I don't know if Matt, if you've noticed this. Obviously on BaT, when you get to the end of the auction, it can go for a half hour. Bids just keep going and going and going. Usually, you see the car double the price in that last half hour of the auction. Whereas in cars and bids, sometimes you see the last bid the day before the auction ends. Yeah, I mean, and I actually accidentally bought a car that way once on cars and bids. I'm like,
I've done it.
Oops. I gotta go to Oregon. See you, wife. I gotta. So all right. Wade? What do you think this car is gonna bring?
JP, what's your bid?
Yeah, did I not give a bid? I was trying to get out of
it. You can't
$99,000. That's what I say. Go on, Wade. What do you think?
I honestly think it goes over 100, which is just kind of crazy. I'm gonna say 122,000, only because glancing at cars and bids, there was another orange one that went for higher than that. So I don't know. Just glancing at two different orange cars.
All right, Matt.
Wade's got the tech, man. He's got the info.
Right. I'm a sucker for orange. I love, I've always do orange cars and orange in my logo and all my stuff. So I really like it. I'm going to go with 118.
118.
Big numbers.
And Jay, do you want to put a number on this one?
I'll split that and I'll just go 107 on that thing.
No,
It
man.
looks
Now he's
sweet.
gonna
That's a good
wind up
guess.
getting
Yes,
a
thank you.
Yahtzee. Come on, man. You're so right. All right, what do you guys think this Tesla will bring? Let us know in the comments below, and let's move on to the last car of the night.
All right, we're going to lob one over the plate for you, Matt. This car's right in your wheelhouse. A 2014 Porsche 911 50th anniversary edition in the Geyser Gray Metallic, which is not my favorite. I like that chalky gray color. Not chalk, I shouldn't say chalk, but the other gray. It came in 3 colors, right? The one that looks like eggnog, the one that's black, and then the one that's dark gray. I like the dark gray. This color doesn't do it for me. 21,000 miles here on our car. It does not have sports seats. It does not have a manual transmission. It does have a small incident on the Carfax. The car is, limited edition. The 50th anniversary, they made 1,963 of these. Our car is number 720. It's got the X51 Carrera Power Kit, which brings the horsepower up to like 430. Super cool, wide body, the Fuchs style wheels, the houndstooth interior. Like I said, to me, it's missing the manual and it's missing the adaptive sports seats, which I think really turn one of these cars into a driver's car that has the looks to match. But this car was submitted by Randy Bloom. JP, did Randy give us a bid on this thing when we get to the numbers?
He did not. Come on, man. They don't
Come
do
on,
that. He's
Randy,
gonna do
you know
that on
your
it.
stuff.
He got it right here. Here's his bid right there. Boom.
All right. Our car is in San Luis Obispo. It's on Bring a Trailer. And again, 21,000 miles, which is fair miles for one of these things. Some of these cars, I think, with the manual have started to bring some kind of stupid money. We've seen a few of these at auction bring over 150, sometimes touching $160,000. I don't know if this one is going to get that high. I think the PDK, non-sports seats, non-ceramic, non-PDCC, probably my least favorite color, although it is sort of a signature color for this model. That's about it. JP, I lob it over to you. Did you look at the pictures? What do you like about this one? What don't you like about this one? Where are you at?
Well, Randy's big question was, will this car bring any money given the fact that it's got a small accident on the Carfax? And I just think that's going to hurt it big time, as it usually does. Porsche buyers, especially when it comes to these collectible by the numbers only car. Like, I really hate this car because it really doesn't have any extra anything to it. It's just pretty much cosmetic. And I hate it when Porsche does that. Oh, we're going to add some, I don't know, Pasha to the seats or whatever, or put a number on it, and that's going to somehow make it worth more. It just doesn't. I'd rather just spend half the money on the same generation S with a manual and be done with it. And, I can go down, you can go pretty much anywhere and add some houndstooth centers to your sport seats. That would be way better than these things. So I just not loving it. Don't feel like it deserves any money. Wade, what do you think this thing?
Yeah, I would agree with that. This is a tough car because, like you said, this is appealing to people who want the numbered Porsche, the special edition, the stuff that nobody else has. And that person is not going to want something probably that has a bad Carfax in any capacity, and they're probably going to want the options as well. So this is a really weird car where I don't know if it has that many buyers who want this sort of car at a discount. I guess if maybe you're in the Porsche game and you don't want to spend 150 or 160,000, this could be enticing at $40,000-$50,000 off maybe. But you're going to have an even tougher time selling it if you're the one guy who's okay with all the negatives that you listed off, Michael Deeb. And I think this car just might be rotten from the start.
Wait, Matt, let me ask you a question. So this car had an incident, a minor accident on its Carfax. Airbags did not deploy. It was towed away. After it had its accident, it wound up going to a Porsche dealership where it was CPO'd like a year later. So this car checked out according to Porsche. So my question to you is somebody that represents a lot of cars online. You're responsible for selling a lot of cars. When you see a minor accident on a Carfax, do you have a rough rule of thumb formula, like minor accidents 10%? If it was a major accident, that could knock it down 30%. Because as Wade's saying, with the perception of a sort of what we used to call a bad Carfax, that this car might be 40 or 50 grand off. And I don't think that's going to be the case here. We're looking at a $125,000 car that somebody might be able to pick up for like 115. I'm thinking this is like 8% off because of the accident. I think the transmission will hold it back more than the Carfax. Where are you on all of that conversation?
So go to Carfax. Carfax is, it's always a difficult thing. It's always something I'm always fighting, trying to figure out and do the research. So whenever we have something like that, I really dig in to find out and then prove exactly what it is. A lot of times Carfax can say, it just was a bumper cover incident, and that doesn't even really feel like structural to me or have anything to do with, a bumper cover being repainted is not a big deal. But when it starts getting into fender replacements or any of that type of stuff, that's when it cuts down. Problem is Carfax is, they're going off somebody's service report and not really knowing exactly what they're putting up. So again, if you ever have a car that you're looking at with Carfax, is it really do your diligence and look at it, see how bad it is. We had a car not that long ago that came back with very minor incident and on the Carfax. I'm like, what the hell? I bought a lower chin spoiler on a GT3 because every one was ripped up. We bought one, and it ended up being on the Carfax. It had an incident. It was like just because I replaced the $250 chin splitter. So it doesn't always.
Who reported that, Matt?
Well, the mistake is when the part was ordered, the parts guy asked my guy for the VIN number of the car, so he got the right one.
Oh,
so then you're screwed, and you can't get it off. Carfax is the bane of my existence. I mean, it's just it's really and they don't stand up to their own the words, or they won't give you the information. They won't it's really tough. So. Carfax is good if it's all clean, but I've seen plenty of one-owner clean Carfax cars that have been freaking totaled. So it can go either way. But it definitely does hurt the value. Is it 5% if it's very minor? If it was towed away, I'd say it's 10%, in going on from there. Back to this car, because I actually just sold one of these 2 weeks ago, and the PDK is the kiss of death in this car.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this car at the PDK. I was shocked. I really thought I was going to get 120, 130 for mine with 15,000 miles, a black car, and it dropped at I'm just looking at it real quick. I think it was like 107, 108. It was, the PDK just really, really hurt it. I was hoping for a much better result, but that's what the market was. With the manual, I think the car would have been a 130, $145,000 car.
I don't know if I've ever seen a manual one of these. These feel like they were built for the pleated pants PCA brigade, if ever there was a car.
I agree.
I agree. Every single one of them had PDK. It's like when you see a 991 T, like a 911 T, and it has a PDK. You're like, what? Or the boxers. Wait, did you not know what it like?
Yeah.
The T. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. This car should have been only a manual. It just should have only been. But they were sold PDK, and and there's more of them, and they're not nearly as viable for the big price. If you see anyone that's a big price, it's a manual.
Anthony says that a Porsche with a bad Carfax is like a girl at the bar with a cold sore. Risky. Dwayne over at Wick's Garage asked if it's Simplex 1 or 2. So I don't know. You guys, there it is. You guys can. The nerd herd always knows the right questions to ask.
JP, what was Randy Bloom's bid on this car?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to dig that up while you. Let's see, Randy. Look at this. He's got a fancy. Look at how fancy his bid is. $119,050 on the 911 50. Very slick there, buddy. Very nice.
Very good.
All right.
Very good.
What do you think, Deeb?
119. All right. So our car, again, 21,000 miles. It's a 2014 Porsche 911 50th anniversary in Geyser Gray out of San Luis Obispo. It's currently sitting at $99,150 on just 3 bids with 4 days to go. I think that this car, I just reading where it's at right now, and again, I have nothing to support this, but I'm going to go $114,911. John, where you at?
It's so tough because, like at $99,000 the night before, we never see Porsches not get at least another 30% on the last day? And here it is the night before, and we're like the whole nerd herd, like nobody's above. I think everyone's like, we've got 122, we've got 111, 117, 119 from Randy, 115. You know, so it's like, yeah. To only get another 15 or how does this car not get another $20,000 in the last day? But it's only had 3 bids. That's also something that we rarely see on a car. It seems like this one's dead on arrival. So I'm going to have to pick a low number and say maybe it gets another, I don't know, I'm going to say another $13,000. I'm going to say 113,991 and send it off to Wade.
I'm going to say stick a fork in it. She's done.
That's it.
That's it. 99,150. I don't see any more money in this car. I mean, it's a relatively high mileage example compared to similar ones that have sold. It's got the kiss of death, a little bit of a bad Carfax.
And a PDK.
Yeah. I mean, I can't possibly imagine where another 20 or 30 grand comes from. And I think if another 5 or 10 grand comes, good for them. But you're not going to get a lot of people who want this particular car with all the things, all the elements that you listed off, Michael.
Matt, is there any chance
Jay.
that this,
Let's go to Jay because Wade took Matt's bid.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the perspective here, so
Matt,
I'm only
Matt,
going.
where you at? What's your bid?
I'm going to go $111.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen in the last moments like this to not get?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
I did on mine.
on
I
Shoddy's
did
car,
on mine.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that one.
All right.
But no, it's Grandma Beige with an automatic.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Jay, you want to throw a bid on this one?
I'll only go 105 on this thing.
You think he brings another $5,000? I am really
Maybe.
regretting my bid. I'm thinking Wade's probably going to be right on this one. But yeah, what do you guys think out there in the nerd herd? Hey, before we've kind of wrapped up predictions, but Matt, since we've got you on here, we have talked about that Shoddy's car a number of times, and specifically the subject of you're having ran the car. And then it failed. It only got to $90,000,
Yeah.
and then you guys
In
brought
October.
it back a couple of months later, and it
The
brought
same assets.
Yep.
160.
Yep.
Thanks, Deeb.
Talk to us.
Yeah, it was,
Talk to us.
how
take on
did you get BAT to even relist it?
I've done almost 1,300 cars.
And that's it. That's the only way.
The flex.
Yeah.
He's flexing on us.
Guns a-blazing.
The 911R factor is pretty strong, and I can get stuff usually done. That car was, there's a lot of times, people say, well, that's the market's spoken. It's like the worst words that I've ever heard. Cars, if there's nobody in the room, there's nobody in the room. There's factors that happen. There's the people miss out. People aren't paying attention. Just nobody's in the room. That's okay. I'm okay with the car not making reserve if the reserve is right. And because I'll bring it back, and 9 times out of 10 they bring way more. And Shaddy's car was a perfect example. And it killed it. You got 2 people in the room that wanted it and fought it out, and it did well.
Yeah, but what did BAT say when was it just straight up because you're 911R? They're like, okay, whatever. Did they give you any pushback at all?
I think we did, and the reserve was quite a bit. It wasn't quite a bit less. That's more, but it was less than it was the first time.
Okay, all right. So you came back with a lower reserve at least. So there was some give and take there.
Were you sweating it because Shoddy's car the second time around made all the money on the last day? Like, it was tough. We covered it, and we were like,
I know you
what
did.
do you think's going to happen?
I watched that show.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it, Matt. Come on, man. Share it around. Share these things.
Yeah. No, you guys do a really good job on your thumbnails for the YouTube screen of the car you're talking about. So I just scan for there's a 911R car. I'll watch that one.
So if we want to double our viewerships, we just cover all your cars because there's only 2 people watch this thing.
Yeah. So John and I will send you our W-2s and our Social Security numbers.
Right.
Just put it on payroll.
Please do.
And we'll send your ad.
I'll send you guys a bunch of swag up.
Very nice. All right. Well, all right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Matt. Really appreciate your insight and love seeing your listings. I'm sure we'll keep watching for them. Where can people find you? Can people meet you? Are you coming down to Air and Water? What's going on?
Yeah, we'll be at Air and Water, I'm sure, and I'm always around at most of all the Porsche events or Car Week or any cool car events around. I think we're going to be having a Bring Taylor alumni gathering here in Scottsdale next month, so we'll watch the Bring Trailer site for that, and we'll have a party here at the new Scottsdale location. If you guys didn't understand, so I started out in Oregon, in Portland, and a year ago we opened up the Scottsdale location, so we're in 2 states, and so make it more convenient for everybody's cars. But yeah, check us out at our websites, a-gc.com, or of course on BaT 911R.
Nice.
Yeah, I think, like most of the followers, we're all trying to memorize your new driving route on the Scottsdale videos. There's that kink in the road to the right, and I always wonder, like, the guy doesn't downshift and use more on the outside of the track. Right. But that's just me,
I tell you, the driving routes down here are much harder because there's no turns. Yeah. Everything's a grid.
Straight line.
And second, there's a lot more cops here.
And speed cameras. You got speed cameras down there. Yeah.
You should have moved to Vegas. There's no cops.
Yeah.
Man. They
right.
drive. It's like the Wild West in Vegas.
Yeah. I was doing a drive video the other day, and I did have a cop run a stop sign in front of me. It was pretty good.
Have you found any trains, though? That's the big question, I think.
No trains here. Just cactus. Lots of cactus. Lots of rocks.
Wade, where can we see Tech Daily? What's going on over there?
Over at Tech Daily on YouTube, if you want to break from cars and you want to see some phones or tech or other things, or you just want to say hi. But yeah, that's where I'll be. And in the meantime, I'll enjoy being here in Las Vegas. And I'm interested to see how the trucks and off-road things do this week. So yeah, if you're in town, that's happening apparently, and have some fun with that.
That's right. Deeb, if someone wants to sell their car on Haggerty, how can they make that happen?
Hit me. We are accepting consignments. We're like calling out for consignments for the Porsche Broad Arrow Group's Porsche only sale in conjunction with Luftgekolt's Air and Water Show on April 27th in Costa Mesa, California. You can find me at mdeeb@haggerty.com. Email me, let me know the car you've got in mind, or give me a phone number and we'll talk.
That's right. And new films coming up on Der Fossa Nation. We've got new stuff coming up on the Rami Show. And yeah, we're going to be making a trip from here in Vegas to LA for Air and Water. If you guys want to join us, meet us in Vegas and ride on out with us, that would be a lot of fun. We know some of the Spud Syndicate is coming down from Idaho to make that happen. So we're going to have a special little event here at the studio in downtown Las Vegas. It won't be as big a deal as the Mint 400, but it'll be pretty darn cool. We've got some cool events coming up out in Death Valley. Wait till you guys see what we got brewing out there. Yeah.
That's not that far from Arizona. Let me know.
It's not. Yeah, it's going to be, we will definitely be talking to you about that.
Matt, what's the date of your BAT gathering in Arizona? What date is that?
April 13th.
April 30th, the middle of the month. All right, cool. Well, JP, maybe we should make a little homage.
April 13th, yeah, we'll definitely come down.
A little pilgrimage?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've all sold cars on BAT. We're Alum.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, we're avant-garde adjacent.
Mental stole my.
We know MaTT Crandall.
Mental stole my hat, my OG Bring a Trailer hat from like 2016. He absconded with it. So I don't know. I could have been like
I'll get you a
royalty,
Petrolicious hat.
now, yeah, there you go.
I'll
bring my P-Car Market hat. I got a box of them. They came with a can of half a can of sardines.
Yeah, from Oyster Bay. They came with oyster crackers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Matt.
That was another. Thanks to all
Appreciate
of you.
it.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully, we'll get you back. Bid Nerd Herd. Thank you guys for hanging out. You guys definitely make the show. We will see you Sunday night at 6:30. See you next time, guys.
Nerd! Get those nerds!